Horizon Chess, UX, and this is ELEX review Gothic 2 with guns, Urban Berlin Simulator. Okay, this was just ssethtzeentach. Here's another Seth video. I fear not the man who has released 10,000 games once, but I fear the man who has released one game 10,000 times. Said by Todd Howard, designer of Skyrim VR Ultimate 2017 edition. Oh my god, that joke is so effed up right now, because this video is from 2017 and they released another Skyrim edition just I guess what, few months ago, anniversary edition, whatever that is. I don't get this shit. They made that joke in what, 2018 E3, right, when they announced Fallout 76 or something. They actually made the joke that, you know, the self-deprecating joke that we are releasing this on fridges and shit and this and that. And they actually release it, anniversary edition. How about make a next Elder Scrolls, for fuck's sake? Be faster. Now you have 3 studios. You used to work with what, 20, 30 developers, now you have tons of them. But yeah. So let's, wait a minute, Seth never review something like Skyrim, Fallout 3, something like that? It would be awesome, but I don't know. I guess I'll check that. So let's always fun. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more, and by subscribing you'll be supporting my channel. Check out the other reaction I did, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards for plays, check out the ink cards, and yeah, let's do it.
People, Seth here. Once upon a time, Germany committed an act of such contemptible evil that the world still remembers them for it, to the shame of the modern German nation and its people. They asked Piranha Bytes, popular German RPG developer, to make the same game for over 20 years. For nearly 2 decades, Piranha Bytes has been releasing Gothic 2 under different titles, and the German population is none the wiser. Oh, it loaded.
Risen. I remember Risen 2, I think. That's like Gothic? Huh. I kinda play that.
Looks good. Press any button to continue. What a terribly coded game. ELEX is the latest copy of Gothic 2. The story takes place in the world of Magalan, a modernized planet much like ours, which got hit by a comet containing magic crystals called ELEX. Most people die off. The lucky ones who survive become mindless mutants tainted by ELEX, while the unlucky ones become Germans. The Germans split into 4 different factions. The Albs, who consume ELEX to become more and more autistic, and thus more powerful. The Berserkers, who are like the German version of Amish people, and refuse to use ELEX technology, but use ELEX to turn into mana, which doesn't count. The Clerics, who are just religious fanatics, and the Outlaws, who are ANCAP as fuck, hate organized government, and hate roads even more. You play as Jax, a man gifted with a unique power. He can jump higher than any white person ever recorded in history. For this reason, the other Albs get jealous of him and shoot down his plane. Then your manlet brother attempts to assassinate you, but can't aim very well because the gun is designed for adult fingers and not children. So you survive and fall down the cliff. When you wake up, the ELEX is gone from your system and you're forced to experience human emotions for the first time, such as anger at the clunky—
Alright, wait a second. I always hate that kind of plotline where you were shot at literal close range, right? Like standing next to you, and somehow you survive, right? I mean, in Fallout New Vegas, that is the first thing I kind of hated. You were shot literally in front of by a experienced mobster or whatever. Then somehow you survive because of some brain surgery or something. Okay, it's Fallout, whatever. But every time there's a game that shows you that, like, you were shot and then somehow you survived, how the fuck somebody can shoot you that close of range and you survive? He can't miss that badly.
control scheme, and confusion at the strange texture popping, delayed or absent sound effects, and porn-tier voice acting. Stranded among former enemies, Jax has to forge alliances and build trust with the other factions to find out why his allies tried to kill him, and beat the final antagonist of his game, the combat system. While Jax can jump very high for a caucasoid, helped even more so by his trusty jetpack, this won't save you from ELEX's atrocious combat. The system is fairly straightforward. Jax attacks through a relentless combination of quick and strong attacks to string combos together. So what could possibly go wrong? Everything. Piranha Bytes is a developer that's infamous for designing
Seth just killed the protagonist in a matter of seconds with his commentary.
terrible combat, so don't be surprised. In fact, if you play by the rules set by the developer, you will die. Instead, you need to do what all sensible people do with Piranha Bytes RPGs. You abuse the system as much as possible. In Gothic 2, probably millions of people fell for the combat meme. They didn't know you could just spend a few hundred gold in the first town to buy a scroll to transform into a black raptor, and rampage through the entire first map, skipping virtually the first 10 levels of bullshit Piranha Bytes crams down your throat. You need to approach this game in the same way. The stamina bar is a great feature and adds a lot to the game. There's nothing more satisfying than watching a green bar deplete and replenish in the top left of my screen as I wait for my cerebral palsy-stricken character to accumulate enough energy for his paralyzed muscles to spring into motion. In fact, the stamina bar serves no purpose except to cause you suffering. This is because only humans have stamina. Monsters and wildlife follow no such system and can attack without restriction. Even better, if you're hit while your stamina is recovering, it interrupts the recovery. This leads to a fun, innovative system built around stun-locking someone.
I think they took that from what, Dragon Age Inquisition, right? I think Dragon Age Inquisition has some same thing. If you block and somebody attacks you, your stamina, whatever you use to block, also goes down. It's supposed to make it more difficult. But if you're gonna give human staminas, like let's give animal staminas, right? After a certain time they have to stop and I guess just breathe while sitting on the floor because they can sweat. So they have to cool down. How about their stamina?
Into a coma. The combat almost appears to be intentionally designed bad. You couldn't make it any worse unless you tried very hard. Maybe give a character tank controls instead. Oh, and give him a warning every time his stamina and health gets low, which will be every few seconds.
Your health is low. Do you have any potions or food?
None of this matters when you play the game the real way it's meant to be played. The way the developers didn't intend. You recruit Durus and suck him off so he aggroes all the monsters. Then, while he's holding their attention and is absolutely immune to damage, you just spam grenades and ranged attacks. Then you cheese through the entire game. And why would I not cheese through the entire game? Why would I not abuse the fact that attacks stunlock enemies by simply running through half of a fucking game map, reaching the cleric base, and buying a flamethrower? Because, fun fact, you need almost no stats to weld the best gun in the game, which can spit out fireballs that stunlock and knock over everything they hit in a wide radius, so you can safely kill anything in the game without them even having the chance to defend themselves. And why would I not?
Yeah, okay, I'm not sure if I hate that, right? I hate that every time, if you make a game that has an economy, money, trading, there are towns, there are vendors. If you restrict it by storyline, it makes sense. But if you just restrict guns for the fuck of it, it feels really unrealistic to me. Like, why can't I buy best gun if I have the money, right? What's the restriction? Just because I'm not at the level? Level is not supposed to be immersion, right? What is in the game that is stopping me? So I kind of like that you can buy the best gun if you have money or whatever.
Not abuse the fact that crafting recipes are broken. When I can go to a trader in the outlaw town and buy infinite amounts of electronic scrap and iron ore, convert these into mental energy reserves, which is magic ammunition used by the clerics, and upgrade these in a 1-to-1 ratio into higher tier copies of mental energy reserves that sell for threefold more than the cost of my base ingredients, leading me to have infinite amounts of money, or Deutschmarks as they're called in-game. Germans will likely defend and applaud the game. Germans with names like Jürgen, Hans, and Ahmed will state that there's nothing wrong with the game, and it's designed for real hardcore RPG players like themselves. Besides, it reminds them of real-life Germany, where walking outside in Berlin will result in your immediate stabbing. Thankfully for the Germans, you can't quick load in real life. I say you shouldn't trust their opinions. A country whose highest grossing game titles are farming, forklift, and bus driving simulators lack the credibility to make any judgments on what's good. To the typical German gamer, Arbeit macht frei, and they cannot separate work from leisure. Modern copies of Farming Simulator are...
I'm guessing Seth doesn't like Germans. I'm just guessing it. I could be wrong.
Are electronically linked to real-life driverless farms in Germany, tricking the average German male into supporting the Eurozone economy without pay. The grains produced from such operations are so cheap and plentiful that the EU can afford to airlift them by the metric ton and drop them directly on sub-Saharan African villages instantly drowning the native population in a river of wheat. World construction and level design is stellar, and probably the strongest feature of ELEX. Every crevice, nook, and cranny has been clearly handcrafted and stuffed with items, gear, and consumables for you to plunder, together with many dangers. The voice acting can be patchy at times with the English dub, but the quests are very well done and offer many solutions to tackle them. The decisions you make influence the opinions and actions of characters, companions, and factions throughout the world, and steer the course of the story toward one of the major groups and their ideology
it's
for
an
how
RPG.
Magalan should be run. The companions you bring with you also have their own interactions with NPCs, and their presence alone can change the outcome of missions you're given. Just be aware their AI is garbage. Ray just stood still while I was getting mauled by a horde of animals, and doesn't even intervene in fights.
I was wondering, like, who's that guy? Is he supposed to be just some NPC? No, that's your companion. So he's like, oh, all right, look at that. My master, master, whatever, friend, is fighting something. Some, what is it called? Biter? I guess I'll observe.
Unless you've already won. Durus is less garbage because his AI is more aggressive, but is still prone to standing still like a tard, or switching from his melee weapon to his bow in melee range. I didn't have a chance to test out Arx as a companion, since my parents forbid me from playing with skinheads, so I can't comment on his AI. Also, while the graphics are absolutely great, one of the features I appreciated the most was how well the day-night cycles were done, and the lighting differences between them. During evenings in the game, it might even be so damn dark you can't see fucking anything, sort of signaling you to go to bed or camp until visibility improves. But close to the evening is when old lights switch on for different ruined apartment blocks and buildings.
Look, here's what I think. Unless some games use real advanced RTX ray tracing type of lighting, right? People think RTX is just a gimmick, ray tracing, but it's really not. If somebody does do it right, it would create a real immersive environment. Lighting is literally everything. That's why ENBs work. ENB is nothing but lighting, right, and some special effects. But ray tracing literally traces the light, where it scatters, where it hits. It helps illuminate spots where it should be. Sometimes there's moonlight out and certain part is extremely pitch black, or some things are lit up. Like, that's not how light works, right? Light scatters and illuminates things, right? If I just start a flashlight, it won't just light up the whatever is in front of me. It would scatter around a bit by hitting objects and light up things around me too a bit. So unless you use ray tracing, you shouldn't use pitch black mechanics in the game. Lots of people uses ENB in Skyrim and thing, and just make it pitch black to make it more realistic, but it doesn't make it realistic. In some instances, sure, but some of things are way too black than it should be, right? Because some lighting here and there, some stars, some moon would illuminate somewhat. It won't be completely pitch black like you're in a cave or something. So you shouldn't use pitch black unless you're going to use extremely well done ray tracing technology, which I'm pretty sure this game doesn't have.
Bioluminescent plants provide ambient glow to orient yourself, and the whole game actually takes on a completely different color palette, especially around the different faction encampments. That's really nice. I think the game can be described as a very solid open world RPG, if you give it the chance, with some questionable design choices that, if you work around, leaves you with a very enjoyable experience that encourages replayability. With all that said, there's technical issues, bugs, and glitches out the ass for this release. My advice, go wait a few months. Let the people who bought it full price playtest it for you and suffer. Then come back and buy it for a fraction of the price when the product improves. ELEX follows the common philosophy in this business. In the gaming industry.
Oh god, that is so true. That is literal the current state of things. Nowadays, developers do not release the game full finished, right? Because they have to have some timeline or it's stock thing. So they release 80% done if you're lucky, right? So first few months they'll be sitting there patching the game. So what happens is, people who are really hyped for that game pay full price, $60 or whatever, pay full price and just suffer through the bugs. That literally ruins the experience of the game. Like, you're gonna remember those buggy shit, and when it's really patched and you now play, now it's ruined, right? I mean, you remember how buggy it was, so you can't have that new experience again, right? that you need, right? As soon as you jump in the game, if game is smooth and immersive, that's when you like, oh, this is just awesome game. That's when you have that feeling. If you play a game and game is incredible, but everything's buggy, then you wait for it to patch up, then play it again. Now it's ruined. And all the people who does that pay $60. But if you wait few months, right, until some patches come to make sure the game is 100%, polished, by then some kind of a sale would have come out for whatever, like Easter sale or whatever. So the game would be like what, $35-$40 instead of $60. So people who pay for the game for $35 or $40 would have better experience than people who paid full price at the launch. It's just timing thing. Like, can you wait few months? That is just fucked up, man.
Industry, the customer is always wrong and deserves to be beaten and robbed in a seedy alleyway. So I give this game a thinking emoji out of 10.
Life is a prison, and we all serve our time.
My experience with ELEX can be compared to my recent experience with ordering doner kebab. I was tired and hungry. I had a long shift at the labs. I needed nourishment. The sexually repressed and frustrated woman at the counter took advantage of my weakness, handing me the greasiest and sloppiest doner ever conceived. I ate it, devoured it with gusto, and was filled with temporary, short-term bliss. Little did I know, I was also filled with food poisoning, and the catalyst for the mega shits my ass would experience for the next 3 days. While in pain I thought, who could be responsible for this? Who could condone such atrocities? I knew it. I knew it. Angela Merkel, you did this. You made me shit my guts out for 3 days straight. You fucking whore.
I love the nation of Germany. Basinger. Bing bing one up woohoo. Stay tuned for more whack.
That was an innate hate with Germany. I'm surprised this video is not has some issues to it, but yeah, I'm surprised every single set's video has no issues. Alright people, that was ELEX review. I guess the developers of Gothic are the same developers of Risen 2. Kind of makes sense, felt somewhat similar, but yeah. Alright people, if you liked my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards, check out the ink cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.